The Young and the Restless spoilers. Sharon wakes up a hostage. Phyllis' drastic confession plan. The Young and the Restless, Y&R. Spoilers reveal that Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, will take matters into her own hands with a trap for Sharon Newman, Sharon case. If all goes well, Phyllis will hope to prove Sharon is guilty of causing Heather Stevens, veil blivum, grim fate, and framing Daniel Romalotti Jr., Michael Graziati. However, Phyllis has proven she's capable of anything, especially when it comes to protecting her children. That could lead to Phyllis' plot taking a rather drastic turn and getting out of hand. On Y&R's November 11 episode, Sharon sneaks in Phyllis' suite, presumably to search for the evidence that Phyllis claims to have against her. Although Sharon can't be sure that proof actually exists, Cameron Kirsten, Lyndon Ashby, will push her to investigate. It's easy to imagine Phyllis busting Sharon and urging her to admit she's trying to cover her tracks. This could easily lead to a situation where Phyllis spars with Sharon and maybe even knocks her out. Sharon will face a wake-up call about the predicament she's in on November 14, and that'll leave her feeling cornered in the November 15 episode. What if Sharon awakens tied to the bed or something along those lines? Phyllis might insist she's had enough and refuse to free Sharon until she admits the whole ugly story. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, is on the verge of a stunning discovery, so that could link to Sharon and Phyllis' ordeal. Summer Newman, Allison Lanier, will get a scary phone call and potentially alert Nick to some concerns about her mom, so she may send him to Phyllis' suite. Imagine Nick's shock if he walks in and finds Sharon strapped to the bed. That could make Sharon look like the victim here and leave Nick furious over how far Phyllis is taking all this. Sharon could also press charges and make sure Phyllis gets arrested next. Whatever the case, you can bet Sharon and Phyllis are going to have some wild scenes during the week of November 11 to 15. We'll be sure to bring you more predictions on all the escalating hostility and any jaw-dropping news that might result. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Phyllis may be the one who spirals out of control this time, so stay tuned for updates on her next move. In the quiet before dawn, Sharon Newman's eyes flickered open, her mind groggy and sluggish. She felt disoriented, like waking from a dream that seemed both terrifyingly real and distant. But as her vision focused, the stark reality of her surroundings shattered any illusions. She wasn't at home, curled up safely in her cozy bed. No, she was somewhere far from safe, and the cold steel cuffs binding her wrists to an uncomfortable chair only emphasized that. The room was dimly lit, with cement walls and no windows, exuding a sense of isolation. A faint smell of mold lingered in the air, thick and suffocating. She shivered, more from fear than cold. How had she ended up here? The memories from the night before were a blur. The last thing she could remember was closing up crimson lights for the night and hearing footsteps. Then everything had gone black. She tugged at the cuffs, her wrists already aching from their relentless grip. "Is anyone there?" Sharon called, her voice wavering with the weight of fear and anger. Her voice echoed back to her, the silence that followed even more unsettling. Suddenly, footsteps broke the silence. Sharon's heart raced, pounding against her chest like a frantic drum. She strained to see who was approaching, and when the door creaked open, she gasped. It was Phyllis Summers. The same Phyllis who had been her rival for years, the woman who had fought her, undermined her, and seemed to revel in every misfortune Sharon endured. The look on Phyllis' face, though, was one Sharon hadn't seen before. There was a strange mix of guilt and resolution that unsettled her even more than her surroundings. "Phyllis, what are you doing here?" Sharon's voice was filled with equal parts disbelief and accusation. Phyllis crossed her arms, staring at Sharon as though deciding how much to reveal. Sharon, I need you to listen to me. This isn't what it looks like. Oh, really? Sharon scoffed, pulling at her cuffs. Then how do you explain the chains, the creepy hideout, and my severe headache? You kidnapped me, didn't you? No, Phyllis replied sharply. Believe it or not, I'm not the one who put you here. I found you like this, and, well, I have a plan. But you're not going to like it. Sharon's eyes narrowed, her trust in Phyllis thinner than a razor's edge. What kind of plan could possibly justify this? Phyllis took a deep breath, her gaze steely but hesitant. I need you to confess, Sharon. Confess to something big, something that will make this whole mess go away. Sharon shook her head, bewildered. Confess to what, Phyllis? And why would I help you with anything? It's not about helping me, Phyllis argued, her voice cold but urgent. This is bigger than you, Sharon. There are things happening in Genoa City that you don't know about, things that could destroy not just me, but everyone we care about. This is damage control. Sharon's mind raced. Her entire life, she'd fought tooth and nail to hold on to her reputation, her family, and her dignity. Now Phyllis was suggesting she throw it all away, in exchange for what? A vague promise of safety. A reprieve from a crime she hadn't even committed. Phyllis, this is insane, she said, her voice trembling. Why on earth would I agree to something like that? Phyllis hesitated, and for a moment, Sharon saw a flicker of vulnerability in her rival's eyes. Because, Sharon, she finally said, voice barely above a whisper, if you don't, they'll come after everyone we love. And I don't think you're willing to risk that. Are you? Sharon's mind whirled. Who are they? And why are you acting like this? You're not making any sense. Phyllis leaned in closer, her voice a low murmur. There are people pulling strings behind the scenes, Sharon. Powerful people. People who would do anything to keep their secrets buried. If you confess, they'll back off. They'll leave your family alone. Sharon's skepticism deepened, but she couldn't deny the chill of fear that settled in her stomach. The idea that some dark force lurked in Genoa City, capable of pulling the strings, resonated more than she wanted to admit. What do they want me to confess to? Sharon asked, her voice soft but tinged with steel. Everything, Phyllis whispered, her voice laced with dread. They want you to take the fall for something that you didn't do, something that will keep them safe, untouchable. If you admit to it, you might just save yourself and everyone you care about. But if you don't. Sharon shook her head, her heart sinking. She'd fought through so much in her life, her mental health struggles, her tumultuous relationships, her battles with the Newman and Abbott dynasties. She'd worked hard to rebuild her life and her reputation. Would she really throw it all away? Who are these people? Sharon demanded, voice firm. I need to know who's trying to ruin my life.